find history class boring, confusing, complicated, or perhaps irrelevant to your life? Maybe you even think it's stupid. Well, my name is Dr. Rick Gardiner. I started teaching high school history back in 1995, and now I'm assistant professor of history education here at Columbus State University. It's my goal to bring you history class without the boredom. I want to take some difficult to understand historical concepts and make them easy for you to grasp, but most of all, make them fun and make you see the relevance of this to your real life. I want to make it so you can understand these concepts in such a way that you could write a wonderful essay, you could pass the test, and all the while, you have a good time in the process. Let's get going. Okay, we're going to look at a concept here called the Electoral College. Now, this is a concept in the United States Constitution, but it's an idea that many high school students say is very difficult to grasp. So in these next 5 or 10 minutes, my goal is to make the Electoral College simple and easy for you to understand and hopefully have a little fun in the process. Let's tackle the Electoral College. Do you know how the President of the United States is elected?
Well, you have people who are registered to vote on election day, and usually always in November. They hold elections, people vote, registered voters vote, and votes are counted, and whoever has the highest count wins.
Now that may be how you think a president is elected, but the fact of the matter is this. The presidential candidate who gets the most citizens to vote for him or her does not necessarily win the presidency. If the person who gets the most votes in the November presidential election doesn't automatically win, then how do presidential elections work? Who came up with this ridiculous system? Here they are. The Rich Old Boys Network back in 1787 that made the rules for running the United States government. That set of rules is called the Constitution. But why didn't these old dudes just say, whoever can get the largest number of citizens to vote for him wins? Here's something that sounds a little strange. These fellows weren't real big fans of democracy.
Democracies have ever been spectacles of turbulence and contention, have ever been found incompatible with personal security or the rights of property, and have in general been as short in their lives as they have been violent in their deaths.
The ancient democracies, in which the people themselves deliberated, never possessed one good feature of government.
Democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy yet that did not commit suicide.
Why were some of the authors of the Constitution so critical of democracy? Well, to put it plainly, they didn't believe that all of the common people were qualified to make wise decisions. They would have agreed with the remark that's been attributed to Winston Churchill. The best argument against democracy, said Churchill, is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. In a democracy, we have to be willing to trust 51% of the common people to make wise decisions. But the authors of the Constitution were concerned that the common people, or at least a lot of them, are easily fooled. Think about this. According to a CNN poll, 80% of Americans believe that aliens have come to Earth and that the U.S. government is covering it up. Another poll revealed that 83% of Americans believe that professional wrestling matches are legitimate, that they're not fixed. One of the concerns of the constitutional authors was that in a democracy, maybe someone like this could end up getting elected. Or perhaps a bodybuilder with big muscles, perhaps a movie star like this could end up getting elected. So in order to avoid problems like this, the authors of the Constitution created a republic, not a democracy. In a republic, the people's wise representatives will vote and act on the people's behalf. When it comes to choosing a president, the authors of the Constitution trusted only a very small group of people to make that choice. Do you know how many people actually voted for the President of the United States in the last election? The right answer is 538. The rest of the people simply voted for who those 538 people would be. Wow, this seems really weird. Well, how did all this come about? Well, the writers of the Constitution decided that the President of the United States should be chosen by a very small group of special people called electors. This wasn't a new idea. Actually, for hundreds of years, the popes had been chosen by a group of people called the College of Cardinals. Likewise, the group of electors that chooses a president came to be called the Electoral College. According to Article 2 of the Constitution, each state gets to choose a number of electors. But it's not the same number for every state. The way you figure out the number of electors is this. You take the number of senators in a state, which is 2 for every state, and then you add the number of congressmen in that state, which is determined by population. And that's the number of electors that your state gets to choose. For example, the state of Georgia has 2 senators and 13 congressmen. Therefore, they get to choose 15 people to cast a vote for the President of the United States. Are you confused yet? Okay, let me say it again. You take the number of senators in a state, which is always 2, regardless of the state, and you add to the number of senators the number of congressmen. That is the amount of electors that your state gets to choose to participate in the Electoral College that selects the President of the United States. Now here's a map of the United States that shows the number of electors that each state gets to choose to participate in the Electoral College. The states that get the largest number of electors are California, Texas, and New York. This brings us to the question, how are the electors chosen by the states? According to the Constitution, they can be chosen any way that the states want to. But the reality is this, the states allow the citizens to vote for president. And whoever wins the election gets to choose the electors that come from that particular state. Now, this is no absolute guarantee that the electors will actually vote for the person that chose them when it comes time to participate in the Electoral College, but the people who are chosen by the candidates to be electors are always people who have shown incredible loyalty to the candidates, and by that we mean lots of money. It's a rare event that someone who was chosen to be an elector actually did not vote for the person that chose them to be an elector. That's why long before the Electoral College does its work, we already declare who won the presidency of the United States based on who won in each state. Now let's go back to our map. If you were a candidate running for president, which of these states would you target for your campaigns? The obvious answer would be states such as California and Texas and New York. But what if you already know that the state of Texas is kind of a lost cause? You're not going to win that when you've done the polls and you're certain that those people there don't like you. And yet in states like Georgia and Wisconsin and Oregon and Wyoming, the voters are very close and they're not quite sure which way they want to go. In that case, you'd probably abandon the larger state and focus more on what are called swing states, the states where the electors are still in the balance. That's why a state like Wyoming can get a lot of attention even though it only has 3 electoral votes.